I'm dropping in the Slack.
I see it. All good.
I even got my ring light kind of working.
Oh, yeah? Is that new?
I'm trying to cast a few less shadows. Yeah, I have it above me because I don't have good overhead lighting here. So I've got an umbrella light over there, but then with all the dark walls, it just absorbs all the light.
Right.
And so I was like the Phil Collins look half the time. If I changed to DK or something with the dark, you know.
Cool if you could cue that too as you did it. Yes, we're good. Welcome back as we welcome you into the NFL PrizePicks Week 9 edition here, as myself and EMac, more so EMac, with the help of Mike Awesemo producing, will navigate you through another money-making ticket that you could build on prizepicks.com, the king of the over-unders. And they've simplified everything for you where you can just pick a number, over, under. The beauty of it, as EMac will tell you in a matter of seconds here, is to marry all of our projections that we have on site to take full advantage of any window of opportunity. And speaking of taking advantage, our promo code, Awesemo, AWESCMO, we're going to match your first deposit up to $100. My friend, it's always a pleasure. I can't wait to see what you have cooked up this weekend.
Well, this is kind of a new thing here. We have some excellent synergy here with PrizePicks. You know, reminder, use that promo code Awesemo, get your first $100 matched in your deposit bonus. That money comes out first for all of your cards, shall we call them, that you're creating here for your player props. You go 2, 3, 4, or 5. The more you put on your card, the higher the multiplier, and they have some safety nets there. We'll talk about those as well. The interesting thing is this ties in so nicely to what we're doing over at OddShopper, the Awesemo sister site, where you guys can go over there. You can for free for everybody. You can go to Awesemo OddShopper. There's 2 S's, odds with an S, shopper with an S. Go over there and you can do the shop NFL. In this case, I'm going to drop the link in chat for you guys, but it sorts all of the best ROI bets and wagers throughout all of the land. Now, not all of these are going to be on PrizePicks, but a fair number of them are. It allows you to gauge where things are going. They have static lines, but they realize that to entice us to play on their site, they're not going to be 100% perfect. Now, they don't charge us the vig or the juice, the fee, if you will, for hosting these bets. So that's net neutral on it. But based upon where they're putting in their probabilities for the targets, it's kind of factored in. But you can see a lot of great spots here to look at. Now, we've got some ones that I think are good, courtesy of the Awesemo OddShoppers. I've got a couple that I think are traps.
Okay.
But at least this cut down me trying to scroll and have all 8 tabs up and bouncing between our projections and this side and that side. It helps me take care of all of that at once. So with efficiency,
I love it. Yeah.
8 ones I like and a couple of gotchas to watch out for.
Oh, it's fantastic. Whenever you can use another tool, and I use it all the time, the betting show I do with Ben Rassa on the Odds channel, through all the stuff I do here locally in Philadelphia, this is my go-to. This is the number one spot. If I'm giving out a magic prop, on a local radio show, it's stolen, ripped right from the front page of OddShopper. So and it's great here because we're essentially playing over/under player props. With OddShopper, you're getting everything there streamlined for you. So let's start with the quarterbacks. Let's start with anything that you've seen from a passing prop standpoint.
All right, so we're going to talk Josh Allen here for a moment. Now, this is one I don't generally go to. It is pass completions. Okay. Now, I prefer to stick around with the yardage and some of the other stuff, but this one jumped out just enough for me that this is the one I like. Now, Allen has some interesting touchdown lines on PrizePicks. We can only use him on once per card, but if we like 2 of his bets, then we just make 2 different cards, and maybe instead of going 5, you do a 2 card and a 3 card. And there's all sorts of ways you can do this here on PrizePicks. There's a lot of flexibility, and you don't just have to do this sport. You can do all the sports. Sure. This morning I counted they had a dozen sports up there.
Amazing.
At the top of their list. So it's phenomenal. And they have fantasy points. They have first half. They have second half. They have same game. The only rule is you just can't put the same player on the same card. That's it. That's pretty much your lineup freedom there. So Josh Allen, they have him at 23.5 completions. Awesemo has them at 27.1. Well, I wonder why that is. Usually they're within 1 or 2 of each other. This one seems a little bit more. Well, Buffalo is taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who lost to Seattle in Seattle last Sunday. So the Jaguars, of course, not exactly a stalwart defense or opponent. So I dug a little deeper just to see how many times has Allen gone over 23.5 completions, and he has 4 times this year. Jacksonville has also allowed 4 times this year, the opposing quarterback to go over that. So this seems like a good number. I could see this number tick up a little bit. I like it with this spread of around 3. That makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. If it were to get closer, I'd start to look at the yards or maybe the fantasy points. But for Josh Allen, who looks good in a lot of our modeling, therefore looks good in a lot of his questions and props over here on PrizePicks, you can start to choose which one you like the best. But for me, it's the completions, which I was a little bit surprised, because normally I wave those off unless it's Tom Brady, who completes everything.
I tell you, we talk about this. You just raised it as well, as far as these move and they're volatile, and that may jump up 2-3 completions by the time this game kicks. If it does, and you're right, there are definitely other avenues that you could take advantage of with Josh Allen, but I would stay right there and take a long, hard look at the under. If I could get that closer to 26.5 as far as the final number and the final projection, then I think there's a much better chance they're up, that they've done the damage to where the window is not as wide or open for him to just be threading needles up and down the field. Couple of big plays, couple of scores as a result of those big plays, EMac. Next thing you know, it's 23-3, and Josh Allen isn't dicking and dunking, nor is he throwing downfield. They're getting out of there with a win. So, or it just limits the amount of times that he's throwing the football. So, yeah, I'm with you right now. It's a gap, right? Basically 3 points as far as 3 completions of a gap. But if I can get to 26.5, I'll take a long, hard look at the under.
And that's an excellent point. And this is something that's new. This is new to me. This is new to a lot of people here. There's a couple sites out there that have sort of turned these daily or these props, the player props, they're questions. They set a line and you choose higher or lower. It's not the end all be all. And It's nice here because, again, they're not juicing it one side or the other. It's like, oh, I think Clayton Kershaw is going to get more than 3.5 strikeouts. Well, at minus 300, maybe I don't want to do that because something could happen. So this makes it interesting. I am still in the mindset of, I get tunnel vision. I start looking at one way. Why, of course, if I'm feeling a little nervous and I feel we're, to borrow a football phrase, out kicking our coverage, Eytan, maybe I should consider the under. I like this. Yeah. I'm learning along from the master himself, the DGen himself.
Oh, look. Well, now you're on it.
Yeah. I say that with love.
Exactly.
And admiration.
Exactly. You're lying through your teeth on the first one, and then you're saying it with love on the second one. I get it. I totally get it. All right. So that's the only quarterback over-under that we have, the only quarterback prop across the board that we have. So we have to move to rushing now, right? Not to say that a quarterback won't make an appearance in the rushing category.
Absolutely. Well, okay. We have our favorite when you and I are on the show. We got to talk about a certain
right,
Jalen
I love it.
We have now almost talked about him for the majority of his career. Because he had so few starts last year.
That's great. Now Mike's here in the house. You're inundated with Philadelphians, so you can't get away from Jalen Hurts. I love it.
Seemingly, I can't.
Let's build up to Hurts, though. All right, so we'll hit on others. I know you have. It can't just be the Jalen Hurts show, as much as myself and Mike would love that.
All right. I do see someone in chat. I want to address this. I don't see the Josh Allen. Oh, there. No, I don't see a Josh Allen rushing prop on PrizePicks, but of course you can get that on the other sites. They're saying take the over on 30.5. Take the over on 33.5. Awesemo has him at 30.5. I will say on the season, I'm writing him up as one of the better quarterback plays in the DFS world this week. He's averaging about 38 rushing yards per game this season, which is pretty solid. But that number, I think, is a little, he may stay in the pocket. I mean, all it takes is him to break 1 or 2 and he's going to get that. But come on, it's the Jags. They've got designs on a deep playoff run here. They're, as much as Josh Allen is running nearly as often as he is last year, it's more selective. It's not by they're not forcing him into it, and he's sort of taking it when it's there. It seems to be some sort of implicit agreement between him and the coaching staff that he can do it as long as he isn't foolish about it. So I would just be careful about that one. That seems to be a bit much against this opponent. But going to rushing yards, Joe Mixon on PrizePicks is at 59.5. Awesemo's projecting him for 76 and 76.8, which is a big difference.
Gap. Yeah.
So that one was a bit much. I went and looked up Cleveland. They're the third best rushing DVOA. However, they have allowed 5 different running backs to run for 60 or more yards. Okay. Mixon has done it himself 5 times. So this still feels like a reasonable one. 60 yards, if we think back to a 16-game season, works out to about a pace of 900, not quite 900 yards. So it's not like it's a big number. 67.5 over a 16-game season gets you 1,000 exactly. So just for perspective there, they're not asking for a monster total here. Now rushing has changed and things are different, but we do know that Joe Mixon gets first crack at these carries. And I think this is a good one for sure. I mean, when we're looking at 17 yards difference, I would not be shocked if this goes up to about 63, 64 by the time the game goes tomorrow, because that's where it is on some of the wagering sites.
The 60 plus is so key, right? Because you're just underneath that. You're not even in push mode here, but you're right. You get to 63.5, 64.5, and we see this with player props at the books all the time. Those move really volatile, and that's something that mirrors here at PrizePicks without the juice, without the vig, as EMac constantly tells you. But that's tricky at that point. 63, 64, you get to that low to mid 60s. Now all of a sudden, this may be a stay away, where this is a slam dunk that you pound the over here at 59.5. I'm with you.
All right. The next one here is my potential stay away. So if we use that Awesemo OddShopper Shop NFL, we're going to see a couple of the David Johnson props pop really high. PrizePicks has him for 20.5 rushing yards. I believe they have it pretty similar for his receiving yards as well. Okay. Awesemo has him at 28 rushing yards. Now, here's my concern. This is the Princess Bride. I cannot drink the cup in front of me, therefore I should drink the cup in front of you. But anybody would know that. So clearly I'm right. So we
remember what happened to that guy.
Yeah, it didn't work out for Fezzik. It did not work out. But we have 40% almost difference here in the yards. Now it's very small. It's 28 yards. Miami has allowed 13 different running backs to get 20.5 or more yards this season, obviously, because multiple running backs can reach that on different teams. Johnson only has done that 3 times. Last week, he only had 2 carries for 4 yards. Rex Burkhead is back. Yes, he only had 4 or 5 carries. And then Philip Lindsay, I think, had 3 carries. There weren't a lot of carries to go around. Clearly, it's not David Johnson. That one just makes me a little bit nervous, because while he will be on the field probably for half the snaps, while he should have a dozen touches, some of them could be rushes, some of them will be receptions. I just think it makes me a little nervous to go with the over 20. Now, if Burkhead had not played last week, then yes, absolutely, I'd be looking into this one. But this one, while it feels good, I think that the Awesemo number might be a little bit high there. But who am I to question Team Awesemo with multiple multi-million-dollar winners doing the projections here, Eytan?
Every now and again, I'm sure you get a couple or a bunch right, and that's fine. You can hang your hat on that and then come back to that as an example as why you're countering today. So
absolutely,
look, it makes sense though when you lay everything up. Burkhead is the biggest thing, and there are a bunch of sneaky props on OddShopper. I direct people back, take advantage of Burkhead because he's up there, and that just speaks back into why it would be a stay away here at the very least. All right, our old nemesis, our old friend here, the ups and downs of the Jalen Hursts rushing attack. Not terrible this week, though, as far as the gap, right?
No, it's very tempting. 47.5 on PrizePicks. Awesemo has Jalen Hurts for 71. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing here is I'm just pulling up his game log. So starting in week 1, so again, all we need to do is go above 47.5. Hurts has 62, 82, 35, 47, 30, 44. So 4 in a row that were below, but then 61 and 71. So when he gets it convincingly. Yep. He's going to be going against he's at home going against why am I blanking on this? The Chargers, because I was trying not to say San Diego.
No, it's fine. At least he didn't say Superchargers.
San Diego Superchargers #1. Don't make me sing the song. 32 out of 32 in rushing DVOA.
They're terrible.
Yikes. We know there's no Miles Sanders. Apparently, Byron Scott popped into the mix.
Boston Scott.
Sorry, I'm going to mix.
Might as well be Byron Scott at this point. I think.
Well, why don't I just go with Jawan Howard then, since I've got an NBA mix here? Howard's back. Is he just automatically going to get carries for Philadelphia no matter what?
Yes, Jordan Howard is definitely, and this is the problem. Is we've gone from just yelling and screaming at this head coach for not running a healthy Miles Sanders to now not having any idea how 3 running backs who, again, Kenny Gainwell was basically relegated to second half, fourth quarter cleanup duty. So nobody has any idea what this whole thing is. But here's one thing I can tell you, and it goes back to where we began with this whole mess. The one constant is that Jalen Hurts, no matter what the game script is going to have the ball in his hands a lot. And he still is, even after 1 week in Detroit where they ran the ball 75,000 times. He's still the team's leading rusher. So that's always going to be in your favor if you're hitting an over Hurts rushing prop at the very least.
All right. Shout out there to Sammy Telesco giving us a fist bump $3 super chat. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that. My chat is restarting.
It's a little gift doing a little fist bump here.
Oh, that is amazing, Sammy. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. For some reason, it shut me down last time, so I had to switch over to the other screen here. So great catch on you on the super chat. I didn't want Sammy to think like, hey, I'm shelling money out here, and these guys are neglecting me.
Never. We have the loyal followers here. Thank you, Sammy.
Sammy's one of them, and we appreciate big time. All right, so you're going over on this number, right?
Indeed. I don't see any way around it. I think low 60s is probably more appropriate. Yeah. But hey, why not? This is the worst rushing defense in the league. Then the other thing to remember, because I caught one of Lofty's shows, because Dave Loughran, you guys know him better as Lofty D. He is on like 4 times a day, every day, here talking football and a little bit of NBA. But he mentioned something along the lines of and you can add on to this. But the gist of his discussion was, hey, in the first half, or if it's a neutral game script there for Philadelphia, they tend to actually run it. And but he said they don't really know how to use passing with Jalen Hurts. And then when they're down, then Jalen Hurts starts running. And he said that's when you get the fantasy goodness, is after they're down. He said, so we don't want a close game. We want them to be playing from behind, right, because that will unlock the potential upside there for Jalen Hurts.
Absolutely. The week before Detroit, they were taking on the Raiders. They were up 7-0 after they did exactly that. Kept it to a neutral game script, kept it close, up 7-0. And then once Miles Sanders got hurt, they completely moved away from that game script and allowed the Raiders to get up. And then it was just bang, 30-7 before you even blinked. So that's what I think could happen here. Even if the Eagles run, they're going to have to stop that Chargers offense. Now, they're on the road, Chargers, I get it, but they've lost, coming off that loss, at least from the Patriots. There's a pathway to that, like, neutral game script, if you will. But I think the Chargers have enough offense where they could get up, and then that's where this really takes over. Defenses are super soft, and that's where, Hurts moves everywhere. Sorry, I was going to sneeze.
Oh, no worries. I got this one. We'll move. Well, you take care of that. That's stare fine. Into a light to trigger that.
Yeah, that's a good call right there. And I have a couple of big ones here. But Hurts over, and again, the number on PrizePicks, 47.5. Our promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. We're going to match your first deposit up to $100. Let's move on. Receiving yards.
All right, receiving yards is an interesting one. So we've got Jacoby Meyers here. He's the only one that's making the chart. We've been sort of hit or miss on this one. We had a nice one a few weeks back with DJ Moore. Went to him a second week. That didn't work out so well. I had a nice one with Jamar Chase. And then I chose to go with the points. He ended up not getting the fantasy points, but he got the yards.
Yeah.
So darn you. But we've been on some of these here. So Jacoby Meyers is getting, as the kids say, a ton of helium around the industry over the last few weeks because the Patriots have been trying to get him his first career receiving touchdown. He does have a throwing touchdown, but he does not have a receiving touchdown. He has led the team in targets in all but one game this season. He leads the team in targets. He's, let me see, I was writing him up, so I do have my notes there for a different article. He has 27 more targets than Nelson Aguilar, who's the next closest on the team. And then the other interesting thing is he generally gets right around just over 40 yards per game, okay? And you'll recognize this number. Starting in week 1, 44, 38, 94, 70, 56, 44, 44, 37. He has 44 yards 3 times. So was this Derek Mason unable to break 1,000 yards receiving? How many people are going to get that one? Not many, but I do.
Yes,
I do.
That's a great record.
No, Derek Mason, he had like 990 yards or more, but not 1,000 in like 5 out of 6 years or something crazy like that. So besides the point here, but Jacoby Meyers coming in at 50.5. Awesemo has him at 62.5. We know he's right around that number. We know they're looking to get him the ball. It's a reasonable matchup this week because he is going against the Carolina Panthers, who are no great shakes on defense. So I like this one for the over. I think he'll get somewhere between 7 and 10 targets like he always does. If he catches 5 of those, he's going to get there. And I like this one. Feel pretty comfortable about this one. And then we're into touchdowns next here.
Yep. 2 more, right, to get to on touchdowns?
2 more, and when we can see if anybody has any questions here in the chat. One of the people, I'll look it up in a second, they were asking about Trevor Lawrence. So they say, if we think the Bills game is going to be close, do we think a decent total for Trevor Lawrence to have 14 fantasy points? I'll look that up in just a sec here. But we have the anytime touchdowns.
Yeah.
You know, I love my anytime touchdowns.
And
because
this is a great play. I like it.
There are many venues or avenues that you can take to get an anytime touchdown. So Josh Jacobs is looking for half of a touchdown, which means we just need him to score. Now, of course, we know that Mr. Ruggs is no longer with the team because he was incredibly foolish. Kids, be smart. Call a friend, call an Uber, call a Lyft. So he is off the team, and we have Josh Jacobs looking at half a touchdown. Awesemo has him for 49% chance of a rushing touchdown, 12% chance of a receiving touchdown. That works us up to almost 2/3 of the time he's going to get a touchdown in this game. That feels good to me. It's an anytime touchdown, and we know while he is not a heavy usage in the passing game, a lot of times when they're down there, it's Waller or someone else. Could you not see one of those little shovel passes, which is not quite a handoff, but seems to be now how Tyreek Hill gets his receiving yardage sometimes here? That would be something that we could see potentially Brandon Jacobs getting if they're doing a fake to Waller and then they shove it forward to him. That's a receiving touchdown. He gets it. We've got it there. So I like that one. And then Daniel Jones, 1.5 touchdowns. Awesemo has him projected for 1.5 passing touchdowns. Of course, you can't have half a touchdown, but tipping in his favor, 0.2 rushing touchdowns. So all of a sudden he has what would that work out to be, like a 57% chance of scoring 2 touchdowns based upon our projections. So kind of like that. It's a decent chance there. So
yeah, and we're talking any touchdown here too. All you need, you get 1 rushing touchdown, that locks it. You're going to get 1 in the air.
Yep.
So and I think there's a pretty good chance you get 2, to be honest with you, in the air, and you won't even have to. The rushing touchdown becomes a bonus at that point, if that makes sense.
All right, I'm looking up this Trevor Lawrence because that was a good question.
Yep.
So now for the passing, you want to remember here, it's full PPR for fantasy scoring for the receivers, running backs, and tight ends. So using the DraftKings scoring is usually the best. You need to remember that they do not have yardage bonuses or milestone bonuses here on PrizePicks. So that's not going to matter for Trevor Lawrence, not to besmirch his good name, but he's unlikely to be getting 300 passing yards.
No hook either.
Pardon?
No hook either.
No hook. We have him for 14.7 fantasy points. Now that's kind of an interesting spot there. I definitely am. It's one where I think those lower end ones are where you want to look for a lot of these quarterbacks. Now, Lawrence, if we look week 8 against Seattle, 13.6, 15.9 against Miami, and 22 against Tennessee, 17 against Cincinnati. So he's right there in each of these games. He has one passing touchdown, or in 3 of the 4 he does. And then in one of them where he didn't get a passing touchdown, he did have a rushing touchdown. In the 22-point game, he did have both. So he's kind of going to get you a touchdown. Let's call it a passing touchdown. We get 4 points for that. He's averaging, let's see, going reverse chronological order, 11, 28, and 36. So he's averaging about 25 rushing yards per game. So let's call that 6.5. We'll just call that 7 points.
Fine, yeah.
Now we need to come up with 7 more points. Well, that works out to basically 225 yards, and that allows him to get an interception.
Yeah,
so it's a reasonable line. We're looking at, it's right there. And again, a broken play, he breaks containment, gets you a 23-yard run. You're looking good. Gets a couple decent throws or passes there. Now he's got a tough matchup against one of the best defenses in the league.
Really tough.
But this is not a bad way to go. So I think looking at Trevor Lawrence is a nice one, and a way you can find your game script to plan for that.
Absolutely. And look, I'll leave you with this thought here. The only way that Lawrence isn't throwing the football is if they're up, and that ain't happening. So you can rest assured that Trevor Lawrence is not going to be handing off the football in the third quarter to save a 14-point lead over Buffalo. If anything, it's going to be tight, and he's going to be throwing, or they're going to be super down, and he's going to be throwing. All right. Appreciate everybody hanging with us. Most importantly, head to prizepicks.com and use our promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. And we're going to match your first deposit up to $100. For EMac, from Mike Awesemo producing, thanks to you out there for hanging with us. A lot of stuff is still here throughout the day. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit that thumbs up on your way out. We'll see you next week.